Welcome back to my channel. I am Shauna, if we haven't met yet, but today is day 23 of my 25-day Declutter My Whole House for the Holidays challenge. And today's project, I'm a little bit nervous about because I'm the only one home and I really need my family's opinion on a lot of this stuff. However, over the weekend, I did take pictures and send them to my college kids. I had my husband and my younger son come in and just kind of give me some feedback and just look things over. So I do have a pretty good plan, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to actually finish during the day. I might have to wait till everybody's home later or just send more pictures to my college kids. But I've been waiting for this project for almost 2 weeks since I did my arts and crafts. I am doing the puzzles and games today. We have a lot. Let me show you. This cupboard and this cupboard are full of puzzles and games. So the top of this one is all Dungeons and Dragons. Down here is puzzles and kids games. And then this one is packed full of games. As you can see, everything is just full in here. It is packed. It is really hard to get things out without things falling over. It's hard to put things away just to find room for it. So I'm really hoping that by removing the D&D things here on this top part of this cupboard, putting them in the empty part of the arts and crafts cupboard, that's going to really make a big difference here. So yeah, we have a lot. Hoping it goes smoothly. I did have my son and my husband put yellow Post-it notes on anything they were okay getting rid of, and then I have the pictures to refer back to from my older two kids, what they're willing to part with and what they want to keep. So let's see how this goes. I'm excited. I'm nervous. Let's get to work. I figured the best way to do this project was to remove all of the Dungeons and Dragons things, put it on the nook table here, and then work on putting that in the new cupboard. That way I had the cupboard space and the table space for doing the puzzles and the games that were left over. So I'm just pulling everything out. I'll wipe all the shelves down. I was surprised how quickly I ran out of table space here. It doesn't look like a lot when it's in the cupboard, but on the table, we have a lot. And knowing that this isn't even everything, yeah. So up here is stuff from when I was DMing a game on Sundays. I actually looked back to see when the last time we were supposed to meet was, and it was back in March. That was 7 months ago. This has been sitting up there for 7 months. And just seeing it up there, I was feeling so guilty because we just can't make the schedule work for playing anymore. So we've kind of disbanded our Sunday night group. And then the amount of time it took me to put that together, it was just, I should have done it earlier. Now that it's done, it feels so much better in this room, not having that look at me all the time. So I pulled from the top of the other cupboard, I pulled down the monitor and keyboard and all that stuff because on Friday nights we play with our friends in Texas. So my brother-in-law comes over and then we do a video call with our friends in Texas and play D&D. So we need the computer monitor and all of that. So just having all of that down and off the top of the cupboard, I'm going to feel safer about it and I won't see it. So that's going to make me happy. I was surprised how well it fit in the shelf. I moved it around a few times. I tried it up on the top shelf, but then looking through everything else, I'm like, you know what? I've got all these books up here. I want all of the other papers and notebooks and things all to be with those books. So I ended up moving the monitor back down, but I definitely could not figure it out once it was in there for a while. And that's very normal. When you are organizing, it is okay to put things in and change your mind and just rearrange things until you feel like you have a really good setup. So the shelf that I just did is all of the Dungeon Master things. So when I run a game or my husband runs a game, all of the things we're going to need are pretty much right there. The only thing that ended up not living on that shelf was the Dungeon Master screen that I made, just so you can hide all of the things that you're using to run the game. Just to keep the game a surprise. If you don't know Dungeons and Dragons, it's fine. I'm sure none of this makes sense to you, but I was very happy. So if you saw me clap there, we have a shelf devoted just to snacks. Snacks are the best and most important part of any Dungeons and Dragons game. So to have a spot where all the snacks live, because before they were in like 3 different parts of my home, so knowing they're all together makes me feel better. So just trying to finish putting the last few things away, putting things in bins so it's easy to like keep organized, and I think it turned out really well. That fit in that cupboard so much better than I ever anticipated. Now, to be fair, not all of our D&D things are in there. Let me show you where they are. So I have to put these away, but they fit in containers that are already put away, so I am not worried about this. So the top lifts off in sections, and then the things we use weekly just live in here. But we are part of other campaigns, which is why there is still so much in the cupboard. So yeah, I love this table so much. So I think the plan is I'm going to pull out anything that I know we're going to get rid of from here, and then all of our favorites will live in here, and then other ones that we only play on occasion will come over here, and then like puzzles will live in one and games will live in another part. I'm not sure, so this may be a lot of back and forth, but we'll see what we can get done. So like I mentioned, I'm just going to pull out all of the games that I know we're getting rid of. Anything that my husband or son put a yellow Post-it note on, or anything that my older 2 kids mentioned in text groups yesterday, that they're like, yeah, we can get rid of that. We don't play that. We don't like that game. Let it go. I'm pulling all of those out. And I actually found a couple other ones that I'm like, we never talked about these games. I know that we don't play these ones. So making sure I pull all of those out. And then, as you can see, I just got overwhelmed. I got very overwhelmed, and you'll find out later why I get overwhelmed. I started to kind of crash and burn here, but decided, okay, we're just going to start pulling things out that I don't want to go on this shelf. I have certain games in here that I like to keep together. Like we have Settlers of Catan. We have like the original, and then we have a bunch of expansions. I wanted to make sure those all stayed together. We have a bunch of the Ticket to Ride games. We just call it the train game. But I wanted to keep all of those together. So just trying to make sure that like the groups I wanted to stay together were going to stay together. But I really wanted them to fit well on the shelves, just so it's easy to get things in and out. So I had a plan in my brain, but just trying to make that plan happen is not always the easiest. So you'll see I'm working here, I'm working there, I'm jumping around quite a bit here, and I keep pausing and like starting to do something else just to kind of like keep the momentum going while I'm stopping to think about what I actually want all of this to look like. Something else I'm doing is I am pulling out any games that I think are more like kid games than what we would normally play. And I'm going to make sure that those move over to the right cabinet. I ended up making the bottom of the right cupboard just for like kid games or like more kid-friendly games. So I'm just making sure I'm pulling all of those out. I went back over to the right cupboard and I was grabbing some games that I know are more of our favorites and moving them to the left cupboard, just trying to juggle things a little bit better. And then I decided that this shelf towards the top that I'm going to actually go clean up right now actually has more room. So I was able to stack the 4 big boxes for the Settlers games in one pile, and then move the other ones down a little bit because I didn't necessarily need all of those ones stacked together. I could have divided those ones up. And I started to feel like, okay, I'm starting to get the picture here. I'm starting to like feel like I'm getting somewhere in a really good direction. I mean, everything I've been doing is steps in the right direction, but I really started to feel like, you know, if you're driving on an icy road, like when your tires are like really like secure under you, that's kind of how I was feeling here. And just as I'm going, trying to dust underneath all of the shelves, just because I don't dust in here often, mostly because it has been so packed. But I mean, I don't really think to dust behind here because it's behind closed doors. I don't see how dusty it gets. So just making sure that everything is nice and clean as I'm pulling things off shelves anyway. And just like it always happens, I get some traction and then all of a sudden I just hit another roadblock. What is going to go down here? What games do I feel are more important? And just how am I going to organize them? Like I've said a couple times already, my main goal is to make this so we are more likely to play the games. What is keeping us from playing the games? Is it we just don't think about them? Is it that it's too hard to pull them out? Is it there's too many selections? Is it too hard to put things away? And just trying to make it as easy as possible, but still be able to fit everything we want in was definitely a challenge. So I thought I got the left side pretty well done. Moving back over to the right side, I decided this top shelf was going to be for like our rockets and drones. The boys each have a drone up in their room that they have on display because they're really nice, like Star Wars ones. One of them has an X-Wing, one has a TIE fighter. So I wanted a shelf just for that stuff down here. And then working through the puzzles, I thought I would need 2 shelves, but once I pulled them out to put on the top shelves, I thought I could get it on 1 shelf. The biggest problem is that one of my favorite puzzles is slightly too deep for this shelf, so it actually has to sit in the middle. So trying to work around that and still be able to close the doors was challenging, but I really didn't want puzzles to live down on the bottom anymore. I really wanted that devoted more to just kids. So if I have littles come over, I could be like, oh, this cupboard right here, anything in here you can play with. It was my main goal. So I did get rid of a few puzzles just so I can make sure all of these fit, using the container method. If it doesn't fit in this container on this shelf, something has to go. I ended up feeling really good about how it fit later, trying to make sure that you can see what kind of puzzle it is by just looking at the side of them, and then knowing that the doors are going to close was really nice. At the bottom, we had other things in here like Mr. Potato Heads and some fort building things. I don't remember the last time I've had littles play with any of that, or my kids have touched any of it, so I knew those were going to be okay to go. And then just trying to arrange like the kid games in a way that worked and that stayed in the box. This trouble box has never stayed closed. So putting all of the pieces into a sandwich bag and then putting it in there. We're actually missing a couple pieces. I don't know where they are, but we'd still be able to play the game. If we haven't played it in about a year, I will definitely get rid of it. But for now, we're just going to keep it. I know once in a while, my son and I will play it. So for 2 people, it's good. But if we wanted 3 or 4, we'd have to figure something out because we're missing 1 piece for 2 of the colors. And these little baskets we use for holding like the little games that we have. So I'm trying to make it better just because they're definitely overfull. Trying to arrange it so it's easier to see all of the games and get them out, put them away. I got 1 basket done. I put the other one in, but I still wasn't really happy with the second basket. So while I was thinking about it, I'm like, I'm just going to continue working on this next shelf. I'll come back to it in a couple minutes. And just trying to continue putting things away. Kept finding checkers pieces. I don't understand why we had checker pieces out. I don't remember the last time we played checkers. Maybe my babysitting boys had played it at one time. But if your house is anything like mine, there's always at least one game that always has pieces everywhere. And it's about this time I'm like, this basket is not working. I ended up pulling out a couple games that are my daughter's that she's like, I don't think I'm quite ready to get rid of them yet. So I know we're not going to play them without her. So I pulled them out. They're going to go to her room. And by doing that, I was able to get the basket set. I was able to have room for my son's beanbag toss tic-tac-toe game to go in there so it's not on the floor anymore. But here is the Dungeons & Dragons new cupboard, completely finished. I love it so much. So I look a little bit different editing Shauna. I was just putting together the video that you're watching right now and realized I never finished filming the clips. There's no after clips, there's no closing statement, no goodbye. I ended up having a really bad PTSD day. It came out of nowhere. I'm feeling much better today, but here's the clips. And if you notice that the nook area looks a little bit different, it's because I just did that area. So just pay attention to the board game cupboards and think of it as a little sneak peek for tomorrow's video. So as I just said, I've already done the nook. I filmed that, went to edit this video and realized I didn't have all my clips, but look how much better these cupboards look. It's going to be so much easier to get in here, pull what we want out. It is a breath of fresh air, and it makes me so happy to walk through this room knowing that these cupboards are so much better. It's really nice to have that project done. It was just knowing that, okay, so I'm such a rule follower. Okay, that's a fun fact about me. I'm a rule follower, so I was following my schedule. Noisy car. I did the arts and crafts cupboard, cleaned out half of the cupboard, and then I'm like, oh, D&D stuff will go in there. That'll make the games, all of that better. But because like I had to wait like a week and a half to do the board games and puzzles and things, I was like super excited for that. And I couldn't rearrange stuff because my list was telling me I had to wait. So knowing it's done is great. But my son pulled out a game and was playing it last night and just kind of hanging out with me. And he hasn't done that in a really long time, so it's pretty exciting. He couldn't believe like how much easier it was to get things out. And that was my goal, was just to make it easier to get things out in hopes that we'll actually play things. So far I'm gonna call that a big win. But thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments your favorite board game, or are you more of a puzzle person? Let me know. I'll talk to you later. Bye.